All right. All right, guys. We are live with episode 8 to the 4 of 15 with the Buns. It is I, Yubi, here with...
HB, what's going on, guys? There's no way this is episode 8 to the 4. I know that off the top.
You sure about that?
Is
Is
it?
it 8? You sure about that? Well, we'll tell you what. We'll see here. I'm pretty sure it's...
Oh, you're right. I lose.
Well, Len just gave me a fantastic thing. All right, well, I'm fucking screwed. Thanks, Len. But I guess that's stream chat. Probably shouldn't have brought that into the podcast. But I guess I'll clear up. One of my cats got fleas, so I'm going through some shit right now. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my god. I just read that. Oh.
Yeah. I thought it was just a kitty thing, but friendly Len in stream chat just let me know they're dangerous to humans, so I might not be here in a couple weeks. We'll find out.
Oh my goodness.
I have put the cat in isolation, though, so we'll see what happens. All right, on to more happy thoughts. The top 5 for this week actually hasn't changed. Arcant still holding it down, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be holding it down for a while for reasons that will be mentioned in the shout-outs. I guess I'll go first with them, and that goes to Arcant. I did not think it was going to be possible for someone to step up and contribute more than Diddle did. He put in $124 and has offered up $40K worth of funding to people interested in the Twink Cup and getting their tunes updated or re-rolling over on Bleeding Hollow. And that's fucking an amazing contribution. Amazing. However, Arcant came in and said, nah, son. And he threw down $700 freaking dollars to the prize pool on the Twink Cup. So we're looking at a total prize pool right now of over $4,000 to the hashtag Twink Cup. So just let that sink in for a second. If anyone sees Arcant, if anyone knows Arcant and hasn't done so already, and fuck it, even if you've done so already, say thank you, because that blew me away. I did not see anything like that coming at all. That is a substantial chunk of change.
Yeah, no, and I think it just goes, definitely shout out. Everyone that's contributed is just, it's shown that, the community's behind this event, and I think it goes to another level to show that because the community's so behind this event for the Twink Cup, that it's really starting to get attention worldwide on Azeroth, because there's going to be some serious amount of teams that are playing in this tournament. I know that there's going to be multiple RBG teams playing now. We have guilds coming back to play, and current rosters that are all getting lined up to play in the tournament. So just keep the promotion, guys, on Twitter, hashtag Twink Cup. Keep the word bumping. Always look for ways that you can contribute to the cup. There's always a way to help a friend out. I'm going to do a quick shout-out real quick. My shout-out goes to Zach Levine for being a beast.
You right? Damn!
That guy's a legend. The Space Jam dunk of the year. Please don't hit your head on your way out. Oh my god, I couldn't even.
Yeah.
Don't hit the head on the way out. He was just going ham, and then the behind the back was just.
So nice. It was good to see some. I think 18 million writers have already spoke about it on the internet, but some new life put into the dunk competition. And one last thing before we get into the subject of the cast, to people that live in the Tampa, Orlando area. The MegaCon's coming up, and Moshi Moshi, which does the after party. The tickets went on sale last week for that. I meant to say it, but I completely forgot. Definitely, if you're of age, and of age, I mean you are 21 and enjoy imbibing in spirits, go. I went last year. It was a ton of fun, and I will absolutely be attending again this year. If you guys have any costume ideas that are sci-fi related, toss them my way, because I'm at a complete loss as to what to go as other than buy a robe and a plastic lightsaber and say I'm a Jedi.
Speaking of which, there's a MegaCon photo in the background right
Oh, did that
now.
came out right
Oh,
on
and it goes, yeah.
cue. Sweet. Okay, let's get into the topic of this week's cast, and I think it fits in kind of well with Twink Cup,
Yeah.
and that is how to become, as Saxon does it in his lists, an alpha twink.
Okay. For those of you guys in the bracket, you are way more familiar with what an alpha twink is, but basically, an alpha twink is a termed copyrighted name by Saxon for an elite level, top level twink in the bracket. And really, there's a lot of things that stem into being an alpha twink. There really is, and going out there, I think that most importantly, so I was thinking about saying this lastly, but I'm gonna say it first because I think it just builds off of everything I want to say here. Is
Okay.
that you need to be, if you are passionate about being the best that you can possibly be, you will be the best that you can possibly be. And I know that sounds stupid, but
If you build it, or if you believe, it will happen. What's that? The Secret, the documentary. It's like you just have to put out positive thoughts, and positive things will happen, man.
up a point for you, man. No idea. But um, seriously though, like if you now, I should say this: if you're passionate about being the best and you're passionate about learning to improve and never stop improving, and you embrace that, you will be a really, really good player. But while I say that, a lot of you might be sitting there thinking, well, I have that same attitude, but I'm not seeing the results. Or, maybe I do need to pick up on that attitude and I haven't been focusing the right way. But I'm going to show you the way you need to focus, right? So there's a misunderstanding, I think, for a lot of people that being best in slot and having gear is going to make you a better twink than the person standing next to you who necessarily doesn't have the grandfathered dissector blade.
That is
Or the
something.
typical Westfall.
Yeah, the dissector blade I just learned about. That also is something I think was more prevalent back in the days of Yonder, where people are like, oh, I got my fishing hat. Oh, well, you're obviously good. Just because it's that thing that showed the dedication to getting your tune best in slot. It's something I think that was prevalent more so recently in the free-to-play community just because of the dedication that was involved to farm all of those chests or, again, get the frickin' fishing hat.
Yeah,
But just because you spend the time getting the gear, which goes back into what you're saying, doesn't mean you know how to use the gear on said tune or the tune
Right.
wearing said gear.
And I think that for someone that's really striving to be an elite player and really just test themselves and push the people around them to be as on the same level or achieve the same things that you want to, you need to. Gear shouldn't be like your immediate thought. Like gear should be second nature. Gear should be like, obviously like I shouldn't be playing this tune until it's geared kind of thing. But at the same time, I also want to make the recognition that you don't necessarily have to have a grandfathered tune with like you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on buying these old tunes to be the best in slot or to be best in slot over other tunes, because there's a lot of things where you'll see players that maybe have these old school tunes that are really geared, but then you'll see someone who's just like Warlords of Draenor geared.
Yeah, I
And,
mean,
like,
it's
not
the-
that much of a difference gear wise. There's a lot of things you can do with the toolkit of the class to give yourself.
and
an
also
edge.
like an easy way to think about it is this: if you're jumping on the basketball court, you sure as shit don't want to do it in some flip flops, but you don't need a $150 pair of Jordans. You can go with a pair of $50 Adidas, and you're fine.
Yeah. And that's
It's
really,
more about
yeah, that
you
was a
need
good-
certain amount. Yeah, you
was
need
good, I
a
like
certain
that.
tools in order to function properly, or else you're going to break your fucking ankle. But you don't. You shouldn't be focusing on what you're wearing. You should be focusing on what you're doing.
Okay, so going off of that, we kind of got that down, and I think that's the most important thing that I want to say right off the bat. So ways that you can always be improving yourself is it's really easy to say when you're playing in a game or a situation, it's really easy to point the finger or to make up an excuse and say, you could have helped me by doing X, Y, or Z, or oh, that player did X, Y, or Z, and there's no way I could have done anything better. There's one of the things that I got meticulous about when I was trying to really improve is like, what could I have done better? And not only questioning myself, but being open for constructive criticism from other people that
Hmm.
maybe can give me some insight. And that's a tough thing to deal with too, because you don't necessarily have to take all the constructive criticism you get, because you may not agree with something that someone says. But as you hear someone out, like hearing another opinion, it could give you some insight. Like definitely, like when I was learning how to play FC, like seriously, when I was playing, I never FC'd before until like 5-3, 5-4. Um, I started on my warrior at first, and then I played druid. And druid was really uncomfortable for me at first because like I'd never played a druid ever, and there's so many cooldowns and there's so many abilities you have to have, shifting and just having overall like awareness of forms and everything. That it was definitely weird for me at first. And at that time, I was playing with Nick Cozy a ton on Horde side, and like Nick would give me a ton of constructive criticism on like little things I could be doing better when I was first starting up Druid. And it just goes a long way if you listen to people that can give you some criticism, because you can take it into your gameplay and really make some adjustments off of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to do with your attitude. If you go into something thinking, "Oh, I know what's right, everyone else is wrong,"
Hmm.
you're only going to keep doing what you're doing, and you're never going to really improve. You need to be sitting there and have the state of mind where, all right, let's see what this dude's saying. Yeah, you know what? I probably shouldn't have ran so quick. We could have held it out on roof. And not just be like, fuck it, dude, there were 6 people coming up there. There's no way we could have handled it. And the other person's, well, look at it from a sort of different point of view. You need to be open to different points of view other than your own, and not always be on that defensive, people are attacking me and trying to give me shit stance.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're right. You just gotta be open for constructive criticism, and you'll have some people that will just bag on you, and you don't like. There is a difference between
Don't
someone
get
giving
it
you
twisted. That
constructive
shit could
criticism,
happen.
but
But
there could be someone who is being rough around the edges that really is giving good advice, but is being a dick about it, and that's why you do listen to what people have to say, but like you can discredit it if you really don't agree with
have
what
the
they have to say.
wherewithal and the filter built within yourself
Yeah.
to be able to make those judgment calls where, yeah, the person was a dick about it, but really he was just being bluntly honest, as opposed to the person was being a dick about it just because he's a goddamn dick.
Yeah. And the thing is if you're striving to be an alpha twink and really looking to improve yourself, improve your gameplay, be the best player you can be, you need to be ready to hear those kind of comments as well too, because you're gonna have to deal with a lot of things as you're trying to move up. So so having failure is almost the best success if you're willing to look at what you did wrong.
You got to learn from your mistakes, bro. It's all about experience.
Learn from your mistakes, man.
Well, what you mentioned on the certain things, what would be, say, the first
Mhm.
stepping stone?
Okay, so I think that that's great. I was actually gonna, like I said, I was gonna bring that up. You have a few things I think that you could break down. One, your understanding of your personal class mechanics. Two, an understanding of everyone else's class mechanics. Three, positioning and awareness. And those are the three I have for now, but I might have another one that jumps up, but let's keep those for now. So,
All right.
first and foremost, especially at a twink level where, you know, you're only leveling to like 19, 29, 39, it's really not that hard to level a twink. And I say that a lot, but hear me out on this one. So, you can pretty much level a tune in a day, and whatever you really want to play, it's like I said, you can get geared in a day. You don't have to have grandfather gear. Like the difference between 10 stats is not going to be game changing, and there's things that you can do in your playstyle that'll overcome the difference of 10 stats. Like seriously. So, things like when I say like understanding your class, that almost ties into actually understanding other people's classes, because
Like the
I had them
interaction
like
between.
yeah, like I had them initially. I had them kind of categorized as different things, but really it's kind of a combination of the two, because you need to understand what your class has toolkit-wise. What does it offer to the team? What does it offer in the arena? What can I do that would counter the other class based on its abilities? So, like, for instance, you're playing a Frost Mage. Frost Mage right now doesn't do that much damage, but it gives you so much control at 19
Mm-hmm.
that you need to use the control to your advantage and takes one out of the game. Vice versa, I'm gonna even go flavor of the month here, but it is something to consider. 19 warrior, you should be crusader swapping because there will be other warriors that will crusader swap, and they will kill you
And those
faster than you
stacks
kill
make a
them.
big difference.
Yeah. Now I know that's definitely pretty. I think that's baseline, but at the same time, you do have to have someone tell you like that. That's something you need to do, because there will be like like maybe I can't really. That's gonna be a weird play style for me to adjust to, like but it's little things too, and I think that not only do you have to be open to constructive criticism of what you could do toolkit wise better,
Hmm.
but one big thing for me too is being open for constructive criticism as to like actual little tedious things that you could do better. Like sometimes I was referring more to macros. I was someone that used to never play with mouse overs, and I now like religiously play with mouse overs.
That, I think for me, making the switch to mouse overs has made a huge difference too.
Yeah,
It just that, and it also, in a way, increases your field awareness
yeah,
because if you're going on mouse overs, you're not necessarily going on, say, as a healer, your raid frames, whatever you may use for that. You're going on what's happening on the battlefield. Like, you see a bubble go up on someone, you can mouse over purge it,
yep,
as opposed to looking at the raid frame to see if, or I guess the nameplate, be like, oh wait, did that? Oh, he's got bubble. Okay, I can purge it. You can visually react
yeah.
to the animation on the screen.
Yeah, it just makes everything a little less tedious. Um, and mouse over is just one example. Things like like focus kick or focus interrupt. You can have other little macros too, like a quick an ice block macro to cancel the aura afterwards for like a trinket. You have mouse over taunts, which is I think something that like no one does, but mouse over taunting I find to be extremely important in some situations.
Hmm.
Um, and mouse overs are a little less. I think mouse overs are really good for people who play in battlegrounds, and you might prefer a different set of keybinds if you're going to be strictly playing arenas. But for a battleground perspective, it's just really good because there's just so many players out there. There'll be situations where you just need to like dot someone to prevent a re-stealth, or like you be saying you play healer. It just makes your heals that much faster. Like
Yeah, or a
that's
mouse
an
over
instance like
flame shock or
yeah,
moonbeam. It could be the difference between that rogue getting a re-stealth or that rogue being like, oh god damn it, I need to run like a little bitch now.
yeah. And even things where it's like, if you use mouse, let's say you have you just want a full haste build on your new priest. You got all the enchants, you go full haste, you're like, yeah, I'm putting out really fast heals, but I'm still letting
Hmm.
people die sometimes. It's like, well, it would make sense if you're not using mouse overs because you're physically having to click on them and then hit your keybind for your heal. Like
Hmm.
you're almost, it's like, 0.1 second is pretty much irrelevant off your flash heal. You still can be doing things to
Yeah,
give
you're
yourself
you're knocking
the extra
point one
time.
second off the extra second and a half it's taking you to get to the guy. Why
Right.
not put the mouse over, remove that second and a half, and then you're going to actually see the full benefit of implementing these. And one thing I do want to say is on the BIS Nation forums, if you go to the guide section, a while ago, Rise wrote up the most ridiculous macro guide I've ever seen. And it will tell you how to do everything from your basic focus to such a complex macro. I've had him sit down and spend 15 minutes explaining it to me. I was like, no, dude, that's way above me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another part of how far do you want to go as an
Right.
individual. It's, and the macro game, so to speak, can be, and I guess is part of that experience or learning curve.
And like seriously, like you can always push yourself to learn something new or try something new or develop some sort of skill set that you want to accomplish more on your class. Um, like I'll give you an example. I play Guardian Druid all the time, and I was actually I had a buddy the other day that came up to me and was just actually no, actually it was vice versa. I was playing with him. And actually, no, he actually helped me. He actually asked me originally. I was trying to get it right in my head. He was asking me originally. It's like, like, is there anything you thought I could have done better? And I was like in the middle of like war games at the time. And I was like, man, like I just can't like respond to that right now. I'm like in the middle of games, but like, I seriously thought about it afterwards because like,
Hmm.
that's someone who's like physically going out of their way to ask me like how they're playing on tune and like what can I do better, which is like something that is really good for someone that is looking for constructive criticism and like looking at ways they can improve, and especially asking people that you think are like role models for your class, in particular, is going to be really helpful. So like I was explaining to him, it's like, yeah, like there's a lot of things you can do as an FC that most people don't do, like just watching stealthies all the time, seeing if they're out of stealth and in stealth, and if they're out of stealth, do stuff like hot your players so that they just get that extra little bit of heals while those stealthies are out, because there's no need to be in stealth. There's no need to be in bear form at
Mm-hmm.
that time. Or doing things where you hold your displacer until someone actually opens rather than using it for movement in most situations. Um, Things like that, taunting pets off healers, etc. Like, even though those are little things, you add up a bunch of little things, and people that have the awareness to recognize that, you're making those
I just want to
extra
point
effort.
out real quick. I used your awareness, and you said awareness properly.
What?
No, you know how you always say awareness? But
Yeah.
now, see, I'm messed up. You said it right, and I said it wrong, whatever it is, but I thought that was funny.
What,
Anyway.
awareness?
All right, never mind. I shouldn't have said that. I thought it was funny. Now it's all FUBAR.
Um,
But I just I want to say something on what you just touched on,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's that there's two great places to go for information as far as Twinks go, and really I guess only two places, and that would be Twink Info and BIS Nation. But the best place to go for information is hitting up, like HB said, one of those quote unquote leaders of the class, someone that's basically well thought of or regarded and plays it well. They're going to know things that can't really be put in the context of a guide. You can ask them situation per situation based. So like you said, I've been displacing all the time and I thought I get away, but it just ends
Yeah.
up I get screwed. It's like, when are you using it? Give this a shot. See how that works out.
Yeah.
And you can get it straight from the Twonk's mouth onto how it works and incorporate that into your gameplay. And that's huge. I know I've done that on
Yeah.
several occasions in the past. And it's kind of intimidating if you don't know the person. Fortunately, I've known every person, so it wasn't just out of the blue like, hi, you don't know me, but could you fucking help me out? I'm pretty terrible. It's like, yo, buddy, I need some help. You obviously know what you're doing more than I do. And always more than happy to sit down and say, take some time and explain to me,
Yeah.
do this, do that, don't do this, you're a fucking idiot, oh, you're doing this okay. Just explaining it in a more personal level on
Yeah.
how to get better.
Like, most people that are actually like worth taking their constructive criticism will give you a response. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, because like if they're not giving you the response, then honestly, like you can probably find someone better or someone else that's going to give you a response, because it's not that small of a world out there. You have more than one role model.
There are a few people you can go to.
Yeah. So, going off of personal things you can know on a class, I think overall, something that is the next step there is, you have an understanding of how your class works, and you have an understanding of what you can do to prevent other people from having success on their classes.
Mhm.
Like things like, I'll be on my FC. I like talking about my FC because there's so many things that you can do on an FC to, like, little things that add up. You get sapped in the rogue and the boomkin are opening, and you trinket displacer the star surge before it goes off, so you avoid the star surge damage, or you let the star surge go off, but you blink before the rogue opens, so that you only take one of the two damage and kind of throw them off sync, etc.
Mhm.
Or things like, your team's getting pushed back in midfield. I'm going to run up tunnel and get on top of our GY because I know that their mid fight is just really strong right now and we're having a hard time recovering, so I'm going to get myself in a really good position to put my teammates in. And I think that, once you have a better understanding of ways that your class works, what you can do on your class that will counter other classes, and also identifying, like, hey, there are some classes out there that are going to give me a hard time, and being able to recognize that, but doing the best of your ability. Like, I think a very great example of this currently is, like, playing a lock right now, like, against any melee, whether you're Demo or not, is pretty awful.
First-hand experience, yes. It's
Yeah.
kind of painful, I guess.
But there are things that you can do to give yourself, like, an edge.
Mhm.
Like, especially against warriors. Like you can demonic leap after a charge, and then it'll probably charge you again. You fear. Maybe you see a trinket, go another half fear, and then you
Well,
do a
also
chaos
just
wave, slow
take that
him.
into your field awareness. Identify that motherfucker and try
Mm,
and say fear him before he gets a charge on you. So maybe you can line of sight or find some teammates and use those few seconds to your advantage. So you're not
yeah,
just a sitting duck and he's raping face with double Crusader proc Rens. And you're like, all right, this was fun.
and it's really cool too because if you're someone that is striving to be like a top level twink, you'll get to the point where you get so much accumulative experience from. Oh, you know what? I want to say something before I say that.
Hmm.
One way that is extremely helpful to learn not only your class but how other classes work is play multiple classes. Challenge yourself, even if you want to. Let's say you want to be the best mage, or you want to be the best hunter, you want to be the best guardian. I don't know. Throw in a class. Um, Challenge yourself to play other classes too on the side. You don't necessarily have to be striving to be the best on, everything, but it'll help you understand the meta that you're playing in ways that you can take advantage of said classes by getting the experience of playing those classes themselves.
Because
And
you
it,
might find too that, like, let's take a warrior for example. There's a certain range for them to do charge.
mhm,
So if you're playing the warrior, you'd be like, God damn it, this motherfucker's always too far away. I can't ever do it. But if you're, say,
yeah,
playing the warlock, you're like, man, what can I do against this charge? Well, it goes back to, say, your field awareness and your positioning. And that might not be something you're necessarily aware of unless you spend time in the war. And you're like, oh, maybe there is
right.
a little thing that it might not make me win the war or the battle, I should say, but it might go somewhere to the team winning the war just by getting
Mhm.
those few extra seconds or having that person put themselves out of position to try and get in the position to gank your ass.
Yeah, definitely, especially in like an arena perspective too, where you have like line of sight and stuff like that.
Hmm.
You could be poking at that person from range and then bait them into a charge range where they're, wait till they're at a decent health and then realize that, when they charge me, I have some potential burst here that I'm going to make him pop CDs or make his healer get in position for my teammates or myself to get a CC on him because of the positioning of the warrior.
Hmm.
And you learn that through experience. I keep giving a lot of like specific experiences, but you kind of just need to hear a bunch of specific experiences to
Yeah.
get how you need to be on a class, like to really have the overall knowledge. Because it's at level 19. Let's face it, there's not that many abilities at level 19, but there will always be people who play the classes better than everyone else. So it's just how people use the toolkits. And the
Well,
thing that I like love about 19 over any other bracket, which unfortunately sounds like it's going to change next patch, is that there's no mounts.
yeah, that could be changing.
Um, just the fact that it makes you work on your positioning even more is just something that I find really unique to the
There's
bracket.
what you were just saying too about baiting someone out and working with your teammate in arena. It made me think of maybe a possible fourth component to becoming the alpha tank, in the words of Saxon, and that
Can
is
can I guess it?
yes.
Communication?
Yeah, I was gonna say learning to play with others, but that's
Yeah.
the same. It's the same
Yeah.
goddamn thing. Is that? Do you also feel that should be kind of a component? Because you are, unless you're doing duels outside Stormwind or Ogrimmar, this is a team-based game.
Okay, so that was our fourth one. What was the third one? I forget.
Was that macros and shit? Or field awareness? I think was the
Oh
fourth
yeah,
one,
yeah. Okay, so
or a third one.
yeah. Okay, so our fourth one is communication. Just forget the third one at this point.
We
Um,
kind of touched on that throughout the
yeah.
others.
Our communication is so important. Um, there are few situations where it's most of the time being a vocal player is to your benefit.
Hmm.
There are few situations where over talking hurts, but most of the time, if you communicate, it's going to help someone else, and you'll have better communication, you'll have better synergy, you'll line things up better, and it really is a skill because there are some people who can talk, and there's some people who like physically like can't talk and like play their class at the same time.
Yeah.
And not only does it like communication, it goes coexisting with like awareness because it makes if you're calling out things that you see going on a battlefield and you can like point them out like, hey, don't let that rogue get a re-stealth, or hey guys, we need to get better positioning here. We need to get out of our GY, or I need to get up tunnel here. They're just pushing on us.
Well, you're
Things like
also, by
that.
doing that, you're assisting to the team's overall awareness.
Yeah, right, right.
It's you're transferring what you know to the rest of your team by calling those things out. And there's one thing that Rise stressed on me when he did his first season of RBGs, and what he said was one of the most difficult parts for the entire team as a whole to figure out was the information to communicate to the team and the information to keep to yourself.
Mhm.
So it's like, yes, you want to call out like, hey, that CD's up, that CD's down. Hey, this person's there, this person's here. But part of it was figuring out when, how, and what to say and not clutter up the channel with what basically amounts to useless information that really isn't being proactive to the overall success of the team.
Yeah, I think it's important for every person to be able to have that skill and being able to communicate, especially when it comes to like arenas and stuff where you're on a 2-on-2, 3-on-3 basis, and communication from every person is just that much more important. And having that ability, if needed, to step it up and help call things out is definitely needed. But then you go into like a battleground perspective, and if you have like 10 people that are all trying to say what's going on and how they're playing the game, it's bad actually at that point. But it takes someone. It takes someone's. It's basically like filling the role. Like if you're on a healer, you're not going to be like screaming out every time you're saving someone. Like it's just irrelevant. It's just flooding the
Yeah,
chat
as
at that
good as
point.
it feels when you know someone's about to die and you pulled some shit out of your ass to keep them up,
Yeah.
yeah, like, oh, you fucking, lick my balls, you owe me, motherfucker. That's not helping the team win, no matter how funny
Yeah.
or how good it makes you feel, and just you feel you need to burst that out. It's going to either make everyone laugh, make everyone get really annoyed, but what it's really going to do is distract people from from what's going on in the game right now or at
Yeah.
that moment.
You just have to. You got to play the role. Like if you're playing DPS, man, there's so many DPS too that I think right now one of the issues at 19s right now is there's actually not enough leaders right now, and there's a lot of people that could be voicing out more and calling things out. But like, man, it's such a good feeling when you get on like a team where you have like a really good target caller, someone who really runs mid well, because like at the point when you have someone that's communication is actually a huge part, maybe one of the biggest parts of like someone who's really taking it to the next level. Like they might understand their class mechanics, but by them communicating and really sharing their awareness with the rest of the team, it makes everyone else around them better. And that's like I think one of the final steps that you can do in making yourself better is challenge yourself to make people around you better by what you're doing in the game. And that's something that I honestly feel like you can never be perfect at. Like I don't care like how much like you say like, oh, I did X, Y, and Z in my class. I played perfectly, got the sheeps off, got an interrupt after the sheeps. We just couldn't win the game after that. Well, it's like, did you tell that person that was playing warrior that like maybe there was 2 seconds where we weren't connecting on the target at the same
Yeah.
time?
Or you had some overlap on the CCs. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things. And that goes back to saying information that should be shared and information that shouldn't be shared.
Yeah. And that just, this is kind of everything that we've talked about has kind of built on itself in a nice way. Because first off, you have to have the understanding of like how your class works and have the confidence to be like, you know what? I feel confident in myself that I'm playing my class pretty well. I've gotten some tips from other people that have given me a better understanding of how to play the class, and I have an understanding of how my class fits into the role against every other class. And I think that's a hard thing to really come to grasp with, is just really understanding how your toolkit can play to your advantage. And I don't think that that's something that you can ever do perfectly either.
Well,
So it's
let's
like,
just
but
call it
this
how
is,
it is. You're never
yeah,
going to be perfect at anything. And if you ever
yeah,
think you are, well, then
yeah,
that's when you've plateaued. You always have to realize there's something you can do better, no matter how good you are at the game, unless your name's like Michael Jordan, and then you're just kind of at the pinnacle. But I bet you even he looks back and he's like, ah, fuck, I probably could have done that.
Oh, I'm positive he does.
Yeah.
I'm honestly
Yeah.
I'm definitely sure that he looks
And
back
if
and thinks like he
Jordan
could
looks
be.
back and thinks that,
Yeah.
I guarantee you, your ass can do something better.
Oh yeah. Um, but I think that the last ultimate step is you are playing on a class and you have so much confidence and an understanding of how your class works that you get to the point where you can tell other people what to do and how and give them assistance and give them the confidence to let them know what they should be doing. And
Yeah.
like that's like maybe the most challenging thing. And you know what? Here's something that I've kind of learned across the way is that you need to surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you to play your class to the best you can. You ideally that's what you want to play with. Is you want to play with people that are going to challenge you to play well. And I don't mean like be a dick to you if you fuck up, but like challenge you in the sense that like they're playing so well that I want to match their intensity and bring it to a next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to make the big play this game kind of thing. Um, and if you have that sort of confidence, you can tell other people, you can give people maybe an awareness that they didn't see or some sort of insight for your entire team. Like, you know what? We need to hold mid here, but I'm going to have our hunter break ramp right now because they're FC. We need to start putting pressure on their FC to make them commit down, and we can kill them into our team after that.
Mm-hmm.
Or things like, you know what? I'm going to get a Nova on this priest after this. I'm going to Nova it so that you can go over there and fear him off my Nova. And we can set up our CC chain like that. In a lot of these situations, I've kind of been leaning more Guardian and Hunter and Mage, but those are some of the classes that I've been playing
Yeah.
recently.
Well, you speak
and,
to what you know, or
yeah,
what's
exactly.
familiar at the moment.
Um, but it's just like, striving to be the best Twink, you should like never be satisfied. And that sounds like super corky, and it's just like the ultimate like try hard statement. But like it really is. Like there's always something you could be doing better. Like, and I think one of the things that I kind of skipped over a little bit is that sometimes you'll be in situations where you want to play with people that challenge you, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think is difficult for even difficult for myself right now is that especially since we do a lot of war games and you play with a bunch of people recently at 19s, is you can challenge people to step up their game to help meet the goals that you want to achieve, but you also have to understand too, like, that there's a certain point at which you will recognize whether that person can meet the challenge or not. And that's like that's like where it starts getting like weird. But like you will
Wait,
get to
say that again?
there's certain points where you will be playing, and like if you're at like if you're someone that's really elite that's just striving, you're trying to encourage people to do things that you'd like them to do in the game,
Mm-hmm.
assist them in awareness or assist them in telling them what to do for their role in the game. There will be some players that physically cannot do what you're asking because of
Okay.
one of the many reasons that we've said before. And you don't necessarily have to get frustrated with them. You don't have to, but there's only so much you can do to challenge people to take
Well,
it
that's
to the next
also,
step.
I think, perspective is a very important part of this game that is lost on a lot of players. And where you'll have people that play every day, hours a day, on the same tune, and they're going to be able to do things that are just natural. That someone that plays once a week or maybe is just coming back to the game, they simply can't do it, and it's unrealistic to expect them to do so. And just getting frustrated or talking shit, that's really not making you look any better, and it sure as shit isn't helping them get any better.
And you know what? If you find yourself in a situation where you're a player that's trying to excel in your class and really stretching to find the limits of your class, like I said before, it's like I think it's vital that you play with people that have the similar attitude and are always
Mm-hmm.
looking to one up what they're doing. Um, and you feel that you're just like that's ultimately that's the goal you want to go for, and you feel that there are other people that in your group or whatever that are holding you back from that, like I would highly recommend you to find other people to play with. And I know that sounds like I'm being serious, but like if that's how you feel, like and that's really what you want to do, like you actually like need to play with other people. Like and I'm very serious and that might sound like weird, but like there's a certain point where you need to like everyone goes through it at some point where they realize, you know what, like hey, you know what? I may like this person, I may not like this person, but um, I know the limits of this person where they can go, and I've tried to challenge them to be better, but there's only so much I can do, and you got to move on because you're not going to get better yourself if you're not challenging yourself to play with people that are just as good or better than you.
Well, and you also need to identify what you want out of the game, right? Just like, say, with your friends out in that place they call the real world. You're gonna have friends or people you used to be real good friends with that you're gonna kind of lose touch with because your interests went in divergent paths. It kind of sucks, but they kind of go a separate way for a reason. Whether it's, hey man, I'm gonna join the baseball team, I'm gonna do football, or like for instance for me, I was like, nah, I'm gonna stick with skating, and my friends were like, nah, skating's not cool anymore. So you don't really talk to those people anymore, but you need to identify what you want. And if what you want is to become the Sax Alpha, then you kind of need to associate yourself with those people in order to achieve that sort of status or acumen for the game.
And I think that there's a really big misconception too that all people that are trying to achieve the top level in their class are elitists and maybe aren't like I think that there's a notoriety that most of them are elite players that aren't looking to be friendly or give off information. That's not the case for everyone. There definitely are players that are out there that are like that, but it's definitely not an overall assumption I would make. So I think that sometimes if you're trying to challenge yourself and you're trying to improve your game, you know, those groups of players are a little bit more cliquey and you kind of have to show them that you have the potential to be someone that they would want to play with, that they feel like, you know, I could benefit from playing with this person and vice versa. But if you show them that, you're probably giving them a good opportunity. So, see, and you know what this brings me back to so many times? It's like, you look at, like, guild recruitment things, and, like, a lot of guilds now have, there's a lot of Twink guilds, or a few out there for sure, that have like requirements, or they're looking to see like your background, like, you know, hey, you know, we have this guild, what's your background in WoW, etc. I feel like there's different types of guilds out there. There's obviously guilds that are out there to give an active based community for just people to hang out, but there's also guilds out there that are a little more skill based that are looking for players that are going to mesh with their group. And you know, so many times from being a guild leader, or just from past experiences that I've seen from other guilds, you have people that are looking to join these elite guilds that are maybe feeling like they want to take the next step. But the next step, people don't really care as much. I know personally, I really don't care what you've done in the past. I care what you're doing about right now. Like, seriously. Like, I could care less about your BC 19 Twink guild run and how amazing like your guild was, but like you could tell me as well as your guild was in Burning Crusade, like if you're still S-keying now, like I have no interest in playing with you. Like, so you need to, like, as much as you can say off the field about it, players that you want to play with that you've pointed out and recognized, like, oh hey, these are good players, I would love to play with these guys, they will recognize plays that you do that are above average without you having to say anything.
And to go back to saying, like, oh, just because you're, like, the best person isn't going to be whatever, one of the most helpful players I've ever encountered in this game is Brumble, who is also widely recognized as one of the best players to ever step into a Twink bracket. Like, back in the golden days, let's say, of 39s, I'd have people that were joining the guild that wanted some rogue tips. And I'd be like, well, ask Brumble. They'd make a level 1 over on his server. He'd spend 15, 20 minutes with him. And they'd come back like, oh my god, I didn't even know half that shit was possible.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are, Brumble's like a Michael Jordan level player, and he was more than happy to take time to help people out. So get off your goddamn high horse.
Yeah.
You can take a little bit of time out of your day to help people out, and if you can't, politely say no. Don't be. There's no need to be a douche.
Yeah. I think vice versa too. On the other side of that, I'm not like I've had different people come for advice with different attitudes, and it's like
That's a
I,
good point.
I'm also gonna like, depending on like how you approach that person that you want advice from, they may or may not give you like advice. Like if you come to them with like genuinely like you're looking for help versus like being kind of trolly or annoying about it, like I think you'll get a different response. You got to be pretty genuine when you're like looking for advice, which it should be. I mean, if you're looking for advice, like why would you be like?
Yeah, you don't want to go to somebody like, listen, I hear you're the fucking best. I'm here to take your spot. Tell me how the fuck to get better. Well, they're gonna be like,
all right, that'd be a first. So
yeah, it'd be like, well, get the fuck out of here. But if you're like, hey, listen, I've been in a few games with you. It looks like you really know what you're doing. Everyone said you're really great. Would you mind just giving me a few pointers? I'm doing this. It doesn't work. I'm not every time, but I'd say, let's say 75% of the time,
yeah.
you will get a positive response in at least a few minutes.
Oh yeah, definitely. You'll definitely get some feedback, some positive feedback. You'll probably and the thing is too, it's like, at least you put yourself in a situation to get the advice, and whether or not you get any advice that you thought was helpful or not, or if you learned something you disagree with, or maybe you learned a ton of things, but at least you put yourself in the position to learn that advice or to have that opportunity.
And that's
to
a
pick
huge step to getting better.
Yeah.
And one that, like we said before, can be kind of a scary one to undertake, but in most cases it will pay off in spades.
And it just like goes back to saying like, I don't know how to explain it better, but like if you challenge yourself and you're really dedicated to yourself and you put the effort in, like you can literally be as good as
Literally,
you
bro.
want to be. If you want to be the best, like, and you put in the effort to be the best, like you will be the best.
So says Buns, Book of Hogs,
Yeah.
Chapter 6, Verse
That's
7.
like final page shit right there.
Yeah.
That's like final page shit. But I'm serious.
All right. Well, do you think it's bow time then, or is there more to go on?
No, I think that's bow time. I mean, you just you gotta understand like what your class has that can be an advantage to you, to the rest of your team. Figure out the nuances between the classes you're going against and how you can counter them. Having a good awareness at that point of the potential of other classes and how you can communicate with your teammates to deal with said classes. And then finally, just, you want to play with people that are going to challenge you to take your game to the next level, because if you're staying back with players that are not challenging you, you're just going to be stagnant. You're not going to be moving anywhere. And I think that, like, personally, for me, that was maybe the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my career, is, like, when I played in... No, seriously!
No, I know. It's just, I understand what you're saying. It's just funny to hear it put in that context, but it actually fits, given,
What?
What we're talking about. Like, when you say career
towards
it, but...
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even like think about it differently. Like that's just immediately my thought. But like,
No, it makes sense. It's just interesting way to phrase it, but again, it works.
yeah. In Kata, at the end of Kata, like I actually had to make that exact decision. It's like, do I want to stay in Laughing Skull for the win in a very friendly environment where there's a lot of activity going on, there's good people there, but I'm not going to improve as a player anymore there because it's just a stagnant oasis, man. You're in the middle of barrens. Like, so, like, I ended up having, like, a really long talk with Drugs, and, like, we just, I had a group of people that went one way, and there's another group that stayed behind, and,
Well, that goes back to the communication factor as well.
It was just my story, I guess, and it just helped. It definitely did help me improve as a player because I had to go play with people that... we're going to challenge me to take my game to the next level.
All right, well, let's close on that. You want to throw out your plugs?
Twitch.tv/FearTheBuns, @FearTheBuns on Twitter. Everyone talk up #Twink Cup. Make sure to check out BisNation forums on the Twink Cup page. Help support that Indiegogo fund. Get the word out to some sponsors. Get the word out to some friends. get the teams together. I know it's 6 months away, but the hype is real.
Yeah, we got 4Gs in the pot right now. So just try and put that into context. A level 19 tournament where 4Gs are at stake. I want to give another shout out to Arcant just because he deserves it. And you can follow BIS Nation at BIS Nation on Twitter. The stream is twitch.tv/BIS Nation, the BIS Nation on YouTube, bisnation.net, Stitcher, iTunes. Leave some comments. If it's good, you might win a t-shirt. I think that's it, Bunce. Let's call 84 a wrap, even though you feel it's 85 or 86 or something else.
So I was like